A lot of good work out there today. Worked for almost 2 straight hours of really, really good football. I got excited earlier in the week because I saw the conditions and I knew this was going to be very similar to like our Michigan State game. That was a game that really was unprecedented for me, the amount of volume of wind and everything. So really good work for us out there today. Really came out pretty clean too. A couple guys nicks and injuries, but we pulled some of our major guys out, like two old linemen, Isaiah and Julian. And on offense, Isaiah Williams, and on defense, we pulled Johnny and Keith after that early down work, and then got a lot of really good work with the young guys. Obviously, new quarterbacks, would love to have given those guys a little better conditions to go out there and throw it around, but a lot of really good work for us to learn off of. Really did all situational work, did early downs, did third down, did red area, did live kicking, with the field goal and punt units. Just had a good field goal rally there at the end. I think both of our kickers made 57-yarders right there at the end. So in these wind conditions, pretty amazing. But other than that, open it up.
All things considered, what do you see from the quarterbacks?
From the quarterbacks, really, this is practice number 6. On Tuesday, we had a really good day. It was the first day we were out on the field. We did red area for practice 1 through 3. So the Tuesday practice was probably their best day overall. Thursday was okay, and then today just really obviously tough weather conditions, but they're picking it up. Coach Lunny has had great rapport in that room. Has continued to see those guys grow. I think they interact with their other players really well, which for me as a head coach, that's what I'm really looking at. They're picking things up and understanding how we play here.
Talking about those younger guys, what have you liked about Josh Geske so far in the spring?
Geske's had a really good spring. He's kind of popped around. We're playing him at right tackle, but probably has guard value as well. Has totally kind of changed his body. Tony Pashos actually has worked with him quite a bit. It's kind of fun to see his demeanor grow. So he goes and works out with Tony during his breaks and has really done a great job. And then obviously the development in our weight room and with Coach Miller on the offensive line, it's been fun to watch this kid grow, and I think he's got a bright future.
You had the school coaches this weekend.
Yeah.
Just how'd they go? What do you think? I mean, I know that's a big deal for you.
I know Thursday night we always host an event over here. I think last year we maybe in our team meeting room it wasn't even full, and I know this year we had 200 people waiting outside. I think there was over 250 people here, and over 500 in general. But I've constantly made a point to these guys how much Illinois football matters to us. I said this stat the other day. I didn't even realize. I know it had been skewed. You guys that follow us. Prior to me coming here, the 2 years prior, they had signed 3 players from the state of Illinois. Illinois had, and we've signed 23 in the last 2 years. So 20 more players over the last 2 years, and we hopefully have put ourselves in a good position here with our Illinois coaches. And this weekend was just another step.
Who's a guy like All-American running back like Chase Brown? You've had that before.
Yeah.
What's the dynamic as a coaching staff and just as an offense to try and turn the page?
And very unusual because like even Reggie and Josh will probably be our heir apparents, right? They missed significant time last year too, and that's why Chase had to have some of those workload days he did. So it was really kind of an outlier for me because usually we use 2 to 3 running backs overall, and want to get to that. I was excited to watch our young guys run today. Obviously Jordan Anderson and Aiden, this is their second spring with us, which is a big difference. And to be quite honest, Caden has been very impressive, just the way he's picked things up, and physically he's obviously a very gifted athlete. So, we did want to establish our demeanor in the run game. I think today all those guys kind of had some good runs. Wasn't really a breakout run, but the defense just a little bit ahead of where we are right now.
Looks like it's spearheaded by the defensive front. They've been kind of maybe thought that they would.
Johnny and Keith, we took them out pretty early, right? So I was kind of been waiting to see how these other guys. So a guy that's really stood out, Sed McConnell, has had probably as good a fall and spring as we could hope. I told him going into that first practice, nobody was more excited than our coaches to watch him play. A new addition of a couple other defensive linemen into the mix. T-Row we got a year ago, right? And a couple other guys that Kurt's had a really good off season and a good spring for us so far. And then our ends, that outside linebacker room, truly might be one of the most talented groups I've ever had at that position, and I think they continue to show up.
Kind of mixing and matching with some DBs back there, the safeties especially. What are you guys seeing out of that? Like, are you getting a lot?
Xavier Scott really had a great finish to the year last year, and he's continued to grow, physically change. So that's there. Prince and a couple of those guys in that class have continued. T. Strain has had a really good spring for us, and then new additions. Obviously, brought in Nicario Harper, who's been at a couple different schools, and Nicario has really jumped out to us just athletically. He's learning how we do things here, and the way we do things. I think today was another good step for him in the right direction.
What looks like another potential breakout
KO?
kid.
Yeah.
What have you seen from him?
Kanana is a very, classic story too. I told the coaches last night. Really, Coach Lynch, his coach in high school, was like I remember I called him and he's like, "Hey, I got this guy. I believe he's going to an Ivy school, right? But I think he's a player here, and he's just, not quite, the height that everybody wants." And I said, I always think about this. I was a linebacker coach at Iowa for Kirk, and we had a linebacker visit. We thought he was going to be 6 foot. He was 5'10" and a half, and Kirk made a comment to me. He said that, when he makes a tackle, have you ever had anybody announce their height? They just usually call their name, and that always sticks out to me because I've had a lot of undersized linebackers who play with great heartbeats and great speed, and Kanena is an incredibly gifted athlete, but he's also very intelligent, and at that position, to have the versatility that he does is a very, very good trait. And yeah, he's had a great spring. I'm excited to see him continue to grow.
Coach, when you're building that program, there's third try for you. How important is your three? I mean, going back to your first couple of times, how important is?
I get the question, but they're all important, right? In this day and age that we're in right now, for us to build this program, I think we got to continue to take steps forward. I know in my coaching career, my third year at Wisconsin was probably my most difficult, but one of the most learning, right? My third year at Arkansas was probably our best year that we, could see the rewards of what we had going. So year 3 for me is big because I've learned from my past experiences, but also, it's a different world now with the portal, with NIL, the dynamics of all that. Scheduling the last 2 years, we've had 2 bye weeks. This year we don't have a bye week until really the back half of the season, right? So there's a lot of different dynamics in the season, but it's one that I'm excited for. I think our coaches said, I do know this, we're 6 practices in and we've won every practice, right? We haven't had a practice that has set us back or anybody that hasn't, I don't think, walked off the field feeling we got better. So as long, I told our guys, we got 15 practices. If we can walk out that field 15 times, feeling good about the growth we've made, that's what we can control and that's what we'll do. And I think we've done that so far.
What are your thoughts on Kreutz and Barlev at center?
Kreutz and Barlev?
Yeah, what you've gotten out of
Kreutz in particular, right, has just continued to be very impressive. Really tough football player, really high football IQ, intelligence. I think Bart would even tell you last year, he probably knew the offense as good as anybody and how you got to handle that up front. He's got it in his DNA, obviously. He's been watching the center position for his whole life, and I'm sure he gets coached on a home phone call tonight as well. But really impressed with Josh and what he's done. Barlev is probably another guy like Geske, has really kind of changed his body and continued to grow. And, he's truly an inside player, guard to center, and doing a little bit more center work for us. But I'm excited. He's continued to take steps forward and take the challenges that we've given him.
Kind of a depth chart question, but when Zai comes back, do you anticipate him staying at guard or moving outside?
Zai's in his rehab program and is doing awesome with that. The versatility that Zai brings is not just guard tackle, but left to right as well. So we'll put our best 5 players when we go to play Toledo. We'll have our best 5 out there.
Aaron mentioned speed on defense has really stood out to him. Speed and length is kind of what you guys are working towards, right? Like in recruiting.
Yeah, I think when people watch us, right, they come out and they're just like, wow, you guys are really long. The speed does show up, but a guy like Tyson Rooks, he was our practice player, defensive MVP of the day the other day, and he just broke up several balls. He's got really incredible length, right, and that allows him to actually, play more than maybe fast, right, and yeah, on the edges in particular, we got good length. Nicario, who we mentioned at safety, he's a really long safety. It's impressive. And Xavier Scott has grown since he's come here, not just weight-wise, but length-wise, and I really like the length that we've recruited, and hopefully that pays off.
You see that? You see the speed there? I mean,
I do. I think we're fast. We always got to get faster, but I think the game that we're playing in today's world, I think on the perimeter, we obviously play with some bigs up front, but those other guys got to be able to run. I think Tariq, he really is a guy as an inside backer that's jumped out to me, the level speed and kind of the tempo that he's played at the spring. We limited his reps out there today, but CJ's better. Dylan Rosiak, Kanena obviously can run really, really well. And then in the back end, we've definitely recruited to that demeanor for sure.
I wanted to ask you